Hello again, everybody, and welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips, joined by Paul Strelow from TigerIllustrated.com. Paul will bring us the Clemson perspective today. Paul, you know, a lot of talk this week about this Carolina-Clemson rivalry game, but really hard to put a finger on exactly what it means to both programs here. Clemson, obviously, with a lot at stake, and we know that the Gamecocks would like to get off the schneid against Clemson and break the 3-game losing streak. No love lost between these two, Paul. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it will be. You know, I think, like you said, no love lost there. I think one of the interesting components of the Spurrier, Dabo, Sweeney, you know, that era of the rivalry is, you know, while there were jabs and some barbs thrown at each other during the week, you know, off the field, they got along pretty well. Wives were really good friends. You know, I think they just kind of understood that to be part of the engagement. And particularly, I mean, that's been Spurrier's MO through the years, where, you know, now that we are that the Dabo Sweeney Will Muschamp portion of the rivalry, I think it's contrasting. You know, I think they are civil in the media and say the right things, but I don't think there's, like you said, any love lost between the two staffs going in. So, you know, it does add an interesting component. You know, I think, you know, coaches always, you know, in rivalry games, I mean, they know where their bread is buttered. They know they get asked questions every year on, to know how important the rivalry is to the fans and, you know, really kind of worthless topics like that. But it is an interesting layer to this rivalry when you do have, you know, a little bit of contentiousness and truly they feel that one side does want to beat, you know, the other side, not just for their professional gain, but just, you know, for the personal satisfaction of it.
That's right. A lot of reasons that both teams want to win this ball game. We got a 7:30 kickoff Saturday night, national TV game on ESPN. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe on the call. Clemson about a 14-point favorite right now. So where to begin here, Paul? Let's talk about Clemson first and college football playoff implications. Obviously, the Tigers a week out from the ACC championship game against the Miami Hurricanes. So it's pretty simple at this point for the Tigers. Paul, if they win the next two, they go back to the playoff, and they got a chance to defend their national championship.
I mean, I really think it's that simple in the motivation. You know, we get caught up, you know, particularly in the year-to-year cycle, how important the rivalry is, and for fans, certainly there's, you know, the bragging rights and all that are really what is most at stake. But as players and as coaches, you know, and I think even, you know, I keep referencing Spurrier here, but I go back to what he said that I absolutely agreed with, where if you're in their shoes, you know, conference titles and beyond should be the bigger goal, should be more important, you know, for what's at stake for them. And I think that's very much the way Clemson, you know, particularly the players come into this is their playoff lives still at stake. You know, this one and Miami, I don't think they're looking ahead to Miami by any stretch, you know, but it's very much, you know, you throw out the control your own destiny type deal. You win, you're in. And so that component there, you know, I think is a driving force for them going in. And even going back to last year, where, you know, Clemson really kind of idled through much of the season. And it really took the loss to Pittsburgh. They came back the next week, you know, took care of business against Wake Forest, probably like they should have. But really, that in the South Carolina game, really the way that they dispensed of South Carolina in that game, shot their confidence through the roof and really got their momentum running. You know, you talk a lot about who's the best team over the course of the season, but really where it gets pertinent among those select candidates is who's the hottest team. And Clemson kind of used this spell last year, those final two games, to get hot. And I think that's a switch that they would like to flick again, because they started off strong this year, a couple of quality wins, and I think they've been a little less efficient in their play over the last couple of games. While they've still prevailed, I don't think they've had quite the execution and been quite as potent as they'd want to be. Part of that injury-wise, part of that just execution-wise. So, you know, I think that's what's coming into this. You know, not only, you know, they want to win it, obviously, but the goal for them is to really kind of get the ball rolling and start playing their best when they need it the most.
Paul, how much of the Clemson focus this week is on getting back to the playoff? Obviously getting to the ACC championship game, 11-1, and having a chance to beat Miami to get back to the playoff. How much of the focus is on that, and how much of the focus for Clemson is on extending the 3-game win streak? Carolina has not beaten Clemson since 2013. At that time, Carolina had beaten Clemson 5 years in a row, and I know that didn't sit well with Tiger fans, and now Clemson's come back and won 3 straight.
Mm-hmm. I do think the focus is on South Carolina. Is it necessarily on extending a win streak? No, but I think it is on the details of wanting to win this game and what it will take for them to win this game and play better in the process. And I think that's for them, cleaning up, getting a Dexter Lawrence and Mitch Hyatt back health-wise to raise their level of play. They've left some passing plays on the table that really could have changed the complexion of their offense the last couple of weeks, cleaning up that. So I really think, their focus is on South Carolina and a desire to, continue the trend in the rivalry game. I don't know that they think of it in the terms that media and fans do. Okay. with larger picture win streaks. I think it's a year-to-year thing, particularly if you're players and coaches. So they can live in that bubble, and I think that's the context that they look at it with.
All right, let's talk personnel for a moment. You mentioned Mitch Hyatt, Clemson offensive lineman, sat out the Citadel game last week, but he's full go this week.
Yes, he practiced some last week, and while I don't know that he will be 100% going into this game, it's certainly a difference when he is at left tackle, and that affords them the luxury. When he's out, they play Tremaine Ankrum, who's kind of their swing tackle who can play both left and right. That they can play him more at right tackle. He's got quicker feet, better in pass protection, and some of the movement things they like to do. So certainly a versatility that comes there, as well as just Hyatt's dependability, and an all-conference type player who will probably be an early round draft pick should he decide to go this year. So, I think cleaning that up and having him is obviously a significant piece as they try and protect Kelly Bryant, which was an issue for them probably midway through the season, where a lot of teams really started going heavy pressure, and it really forced Bryant to kind of prematurely leave the pocket.
Paul, the Clemson rushing attack is the best it's been under Dabo Swinney, and Clemson's ground game led by Travis Etienne, the freshman from Louisiana, and Tavian Feaster, sophomore from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And Kelly Bryant has run the ball very effectively this year as well. So talk about the Clemson offense and what the Gamecocks can expect to see there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the running game is the best it's been because they have their best pure running quarterback. Deshaun Watson had an incredible pocket presence, and had a great kind of escapability. Once he got running, there was certainly a little bit of a elusiveness to him, but not someone that was truly a guy that was going to put together a lot of 20, 25-yard runs or someone that you truly wanted to slam into the line at the goal line as your short yardage guy. And to me, Bryant's presence, what you lose some in the passing game, but he compensates for it in the run game. You see it in their red zone offense, how efficient they are. They've got to, Tavian Feaster is 220 pounds, but the guy they go to in short yardage is Bryant. When they, as another 6'4", 220-pound guy who's just difficult to bring down. So I think what he adds, both from being such a good runner, but how you have to account for that defensively with the numbers, as opposed to a pocket passer who might run 5 times a game, but you're much less likely to be a weapon. I think what Bryant brings to the table kind of changes the complexion of what you do defensively. And I think what we've seen from South Carolina when they face a mobile quarterback, I don't think South Carolina is a risk-taking defense this year at all, but even more so when they face a mobile type quarterback, what they've done is they've played two deep safeties, try and keep everything in front of them, and force that quarterback and that offense to put together methodical drives See if they'll force them, or see if they will make a mistake over a series of 10 to 12 plays. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic for me in this matchup. Is I think that's what you'll see them do, unless the bleeding just gets to be too bad with what Clemson can do in the run game.
Paul, substantial losses for Clemson at wide receiver off the national championship team a year ago, but still some very familiar names there this year with Hunter Renfrow and Deion Kane. Talk about the wide receiver spot.
So there's plenty of talent still there. I think the inconsistency of particularly Deion Kane over the course of the season, where he can run by just about anybody. He's a great deep ball threat, but what they had in Mike Williams and going back even to Nuke Hopkins, a guy who those guys won 50-50 balls, jump balls, but who's going to come down with it? And I think Kane, that's not the area he has excelled in. He's been very inconsistent there, and that's, from his end, has left a lot on the table. So Clemson has, Hunter Renfrow. It has been Kelly Bryant's safety blanket, a lot of third downs, and that's where he's going. But he's so good on the short and intermediate routes that it hasn't necessarily mattered so much if Bryant can be accurate on his throws. So they have a lot of pieces still there, and I think they rotate 8 to 10 guys and have pretty frequently. But it's a matter, I think, also we haven't seen quite the production from them. One, because they're spreading around the reps so much, combined with, two, just the identity of the offense has changed. Not only from how Kelly Bryant performs, but how teams are playing this offense. So you haven't seen the big play potential and a lot, the robust numbers that Clemson's leading receiver, their alpha guy, has tended to have.
Gamecock Central Radio, Emerson Phillips with Paul Strelow from TigerIllustrated.com. Paul's bringing us the Clemson perspective today, and we hope that you have downloaded the Gamecock Central Radio app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. We got this free phone app that allows you to listen to our podcast on your cell phone or mobile device. Subscribe to our podcast. Search for Gamecock Central Radio on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. And the Gamecock Central hotline is set up for you. You can call in and be a part of our podcast. Call 803-497-9058. It's 497-9058. You call the GC hotline, leave us questions, comments, feedback. Just leave a voicemail, and we'll play that recording of your voice on Saturday's game day edition of Gamecock Central Radio. Paul, the offensive line for South Carolina, a major concern, and more specifically blocking Clemson, has been a real area of emphasis and I think an area of concern this week, because Clemson dominated South Carolina up front last year, and Clemson's defense might be better this year than it was last year.
I think Dexter Lawrence's return, he sat out not only the Citadel game last week, but Florida State before, which is really a calculated risk to try and get him healthier for this end-of-season stretch. Kind of been hobbled by foot and ankle injuries for most of the year, but still on one good wheel, has been pretty good and frequently dominant while out there. Like you said, I think if Clemson, when they have Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Christian Wilkins, and Dexter Lawrence out there, those four are as strong a starting front as you'll get in college football. And so I think, the interesting part will be, for Clemson, can those four control the line of scrimmage enough to kind of free linebackers, help out in coverage, or will they try and what they succeeded so much last year with? Those four are so dominant up front that you could pressure with the linebackers, get through quickly, and it really rattled Jake Bentley early. Not only the pressure they got there, but also just the perception that pressure was coming. And you get quick feet, and that threw them off pretty early. Is that something that Clemson can execute again? I think that will be of interest. I'm very much interested to see if South Carolina tries to pass to set up the run. Because I don't think that they go in probably thinking, based on their returns throughout the course of the year, that the running game is going to be consistent enough for them to depend on, getting 4 to 5 yards on a first down. I think that I really think Hayden Hurst could be a big part of this for South Carolina in their game plan. But going back to the defensive line, that dictates everything for Clemson. And when they've been able to make opponents one-dimensional, which is, when you're any defensive coordinator and you can do that, that's when Brent Venables' teams have tended to feast on opponents. So if they can, I think that very much will dictate things early on whether can South Carolina keep them off balance to where they're just not, just making a beeline for Jake Bentley. On predictable downs and distances.
Yeah, boy, South Carolina's had success. They've won games when they've run the football this year, and when they haven't, they've lost. And if the Gamecocks are not able to get a ground game going against Clemson, could be a long day for Jake Bentley. So, Paul, the kicking game for both teams has not been very good this year. Tell us about Clemson.
Mm-hmm. And I tend to, while I look at South Carolina's, Parker's got pretty good numbers inside 40. You're just beyond that. You're really lucky if one goes based on the numbers. Clemson, when they lost Greg Hugel to injury early on, a torn ACL in practice, that truly changed the complexion for them. Alex Spence, a veteran scholarship kicker from Florence, I think really they're just in career kind of confidence issues and things going on there to where I don't know that there's really any kick that is trusted out there. I think that was when he said, all they're expecting from Alex Spence is to make the layups. Really from 30 yards in, extra points and very short field goals. I think they're about all they trust right now. So that's a component to watch should things be tight down the stretch, or really, depending on how valuable points are as going along. That will certainly factor into the Clemson coaching staff's thinking in terms of decisions made with, once you get inside the 35, I think they'll be much more prone, should it be a manageable down distance, to go for it instead of trying to, run the risk of what they can get with field position and trying field goals. So, it's been pretty rough for Clemson, but they've managed to kind of patchwork it so far, and it hasn't been an issue really in most of the games. So. They've managed so far.
Field goals have been an iffy proposition for both teams all year, so it'll be interesting to see what role special teams will play in the outcome of the South Carolina-Clemson game. 7:30 kickoff Saturday night on ESPN. It'll be a packed house, standing room only expected at Williams-Brice for this rivalry ball game. Paul, I think South Carolina-Clemson is an underrated rivalry. We in the Palmetto State know how intense it is, how serious it is, but I'm not sure that folks around the country understand that.
Oh, I do think there is the intensity and the passion there to it. But I think everybody thinks their rivalry is pretty doggone salty. So, I think it does still have a ways to go before, at Alabama-Auburn, for example, there might be equal levels of contentiousness, but just the history and tradition there can attract a national audience. And I don't think that, like you said, I don't think there's quite the pull for a Clemson-South Carolina, but I also think that comes with program relevance over time. The game, everything might be as heated and the passion there, but really what you need is both programs to elevate themselves to national relevance and prominence over an extended period for it to really take on that life. And it felt like they were sort of getting there for a little while, the last couple of years. And I think that really, they need both programs consistently in the top 25 for that to really, probably gain any traction.
That's right. Hey, Paul, good stuff today. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on Gamecock Central Radio.
Hey, appreciate it.
All right, that's Paul Strelow with TigerIllustrated.com bringing us the Clemson perspective today, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the ball game Saturday night.